Bryn is back with a few boxes. Let's see what he's brought.
Oh my god.
Bryn is a shopaholic. How'd you get on in Force 4, buddy? Oh, that's a big receipt.
Quite well. So that's what it come to in the end.
What's the damage?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
This is good, it's fun. I mean, that's a lot of money to spend.
Oof, so what did we get for that?
So we now have radar. We are radared up. We have radar, we have a heading sensor and GPS. We do already have GPS and the chart plotter has GPS. But the heading sensor means that everything will work together, and the radar also can overlay over our chart plotter. We have speed, which we don't really have now. We have wind, which we don't have now. And we have an extra depth. So I'm leaving the depth in place, but we have extra depth and the chart plotter, and everything will work together lovely. That's the plan. I just want to say the worst thing about submariners is bird shit. Look at all the bird shit. There is bird shit everywhere. Oh! Thoughts on the bird shit?
Not good, not impressed. But other than that, we're all good.
You can tell who hasn't been on the boat for quite a while because of the amount of bird shit.
But this is just accumulated in 2 weeks because we scrubbed this clean. We scrubbed this totally clean before we came last. And now it's covered again. Not impressed. Bryn? Hi, Bryn. 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 So yeah, just having a little clean. I was really hoping that was waterproof then and didn't soak me. But yeah, we'll catch up with you later. He's gonna have a great time cleaning all of this. And yes, we will speak to you in a bit.
So I've just finished cleaning the boat, and that was just the first job this morning after breakfast. I think Jade maybe took a couple of clips of me cleaning, but it's a lot better now. But there you go, you can little sneak peek into the next job. We've still got all the boxes to show you guys in a bit, but before I get into that, because we only have a short time down here this weekend, I need to make sure that I change the diesel heater fuel tank. So I'll show you a little bit about that as well, but basically the one that we put in, it worked, like the diesel heater works, but there was a little leak in the diesel tank. So I've got a new tank and a new way. I'll explain it in a sec, I'll just show you. Okay, so welcome to the back locker, and this is the current fuel tank. Now the problem that I've got while I manoeuvre myself is that down here, this is where it was leaking from. So we've tried to bodge as best as we can, but the problem is it's this fitting here that's causing the issue that goes through. So the new one I've got, which is just there, I've changed it so that the fitting comes out the top here and comes out. So this line is then gonna come round and just up to here, so I can get rid of this piece, and I've got all the little bits in there, so that's what I'm gonna do now. So while I do this, I just kind of want to say one thing about a diesel heater, and that is that they are super easy to install. I think with the right planning and preparation, pretty much most DIYers would be able to do this sort of thing. Our Chinese diesel heater Jade actually installed, and as you can see now, it's just kind of like little fittings and fiddly bits, but it's pretty easy to do. So it's actually like a couple of days later now since we got this stuff, but we had other jobs to do when we got on the boat, and so, but right now I'm just gonna go through each little item and explain why we chose these products essentially, and you know, why we think they'll be the most suited to us. Disclaimer, I go into lots of technical and detailed information about the package now. If this isn't your cup of tea, feel free to skip this bit and come back next week. Okay, so now we've like cleared the table a little bit, I just want to break down the essence of this package and the reason why I chose it. So when looking at packages, generally you have 3 brands pretty much, especially if you're a sailboat. You've got Garmin, you've got Raymarine, and you've got B&G. There are other brands, but not necessarily ones that will do a package. So like with the instruments on this boat, we have a Raymarine C70, which is an old chart plotter, and we have NASA Clipper Depth. And there's a couple of other old instrument bits that are on this boat as well, which are pretty cool. But I'm just so happy that we are now changing all of the instruments to B&G. The first thing I want to talk about is how did this come about? I'm not fully happy with the chart plotter we have. It's not that it don't work, I just don't like the way that it works. It's really overcomplicated, and I tend to find that when I'm sailing using the tablet more and more, and I don't want to do that, if that makes sense. So then I was like, okay, let's just get a new chart plotter. It will, you know, do all the things that I want to do. And then as I was looking into them, it was becoming more apparent that I was like, well, if I'm spending the money to get a chart plotter, we might as well get something else added on, something, and then it escalates. So we looked at how many pennies we had, and we literally just about managed to get this package. There's a few deals on at the time while we've got this, so it was a few £100 cheaper. So when you're looking at packages like this, one of the fundamentals you want to look at is the communication system. So on older instruments, they tend to use what's called 0183, and that is like they can either send or receive information. The newer stuff that's on the market, so I think Garmin uses it and B&G uses it, it uses NEMA 2000, which can both send and receive. And then you got Raymarine, which use their own proprietary Raymarine talk system. I forgot the name of that now. But you're kind of locked into Raymarine with that. So I was like, that's another reason why I liked the idea of using B&G. So the Vulcan 9, this is the chart plotter that we went for. I really like the Zeus, but this whole package was half the price of our boat, which is crazy to think that we spent that much money. But let's have a look at some of the features that this guy can do. So firstly, the one thing that I want to mention is when you're adding waypoints on a chart plotter, they're all touch screen, all the new ones now, but it's like a touch and then you have to push something else to add a waypoint. Whereas with the B&G system, it's push, hold, and it'll be dropped. Push, hold, it'll be dropped. And it's very intuitive, it's very much like using a tablet, which did make me think, could you accidentally add waypoints? But I haven't used it yet, but that's one of the things I'm going to look at, because I was like, okay, maybe it isn't always the best thing, but I think for how much people use tablets and technology these days, I think that won't be a problem. So the other reason why I wanted to get this chart plotter, which also ties into why we went with the whole package, is because B&G do something called Sail Steer, which essentially gives you all the information of the tide, speed through the water, speed over ground, wind direction, true wind direction, apparent wind direction, every single piece of information you could possibly want. And it does all the smart stuff and tells you optimal times when you might want to tack, when you might want to jibe, and just the best point of sail, like not necessarily the best point of sail, but it gives you a lot of information using Sail Steer to sail efficiently. And I was a massive fan of that. Because me and Jade, we haven't got the most experience when it comes to sailing, I feel like this will help us learn. I don't want to rely on this stuff. I want it to help me learn the best way to sail. That's what I want to use it for. Other things that this is capable of is forward scan. Now, we haven't got a forward scan transducer, but it is something that if we wanted to, we could add it later on. But it is quite cool that it can do that, especially in the Med, where like, if you're coming up to shelves more apparent in the Mediterranean, it'll be able to see ahead. or if you're going through slightly less charted waters, you'll be able to see your path going forward. The other thing I really like about this chart plotter is that it can also do radar, and it can overlay it over the chart. But to do that, so this is what's some of the things they don't always tell you, is you need one of these guys. Now, if you're going for the package where you have all the steering system, the auto helm that B&G offers, there is a different heading sensor. I can't remember what it's called, but it is a slightly more expensive heading sensor. And if you purchase that, you can overlay radar over your chart plotter. But if you don't have the auto helm system from B&G, you can get this guy, which is called a ZG100, and this will help you overlay the radar as well. Also, it's good to have a heading sensor. It will help with all the sail steer information as well. It's not like our boat doesn't have a GPS already, but I wanted to just stick to the B&G stuff, just in case there was any glitchy lags. Also, the one that we do have, I think, is Raymarine. So I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to stick to what B&G knows and stick to B&G. What else can this chart plotter do? So it's got a lot of racing features, which aren't going to be useful for us because we have no intention of racing whatsoever. But you know, it's nice to know that it's there. I really liked the layout of the interface. I really like how it's very, very user friendly. Another thing that this chart plotter has already built into it is a GPS, so you don't actually need an external GPS. So if I didn't want to overlay radar, you wouldn't need to get this. So you could just use this system itself and it would work perfectly fine. And finally, so where are we going to put this? So in our cockpit, I've got two little displays. I'm going to be taking the bottom one out, which is a repeater, and that's where I'm going to put this guy. But then it would be like, okay, so at the nav table, how are you going to plot your chart? What's really, really cool is this can link up with our tablet and it'll mirror. So I can actually plot using the tablet at the nav desk, sitting where I am now, lying in bed, and I can say if you're on, someone else is on watch and you're having your little nap, you're resting, but you just want to check on how things are looking, you can just pick up the tablet and you can check. So if Jade's on watch and I'm meant to be sleeping in the V berth, but I'm a little bit like, I wonder where we are, or oof, I wonder what the speed is, you can check all that information on the tablet from your bed. And I was totally down for that. That sounds like geeking out right now. So yeah, that was one of the features that was really cool for me, because I thought, yep, this will be in the cockpit and I can still use a tablet, but not outside, because I found with the tablet, they overheat on hot days. So now the tablet stays indoors where it's not going to get damaged by water, not going to get overheating or anything like that. And the chart plotter will do its job where it's meant to do its job. Hopefully that's a bit of information about this chart plotter, but to enable it to do half of the stuff, let's look at what else I managed to get. So we've got the ZG100 here, but for the instruments, we went for the Triton2. Now you don't need this display, you can just get the instruments. We went with a wireless wind instrument, which is this right behind me, and we went for a trijuicer, because they come as a package, the Triton2, the trijuicer and the wireless wind. The reason we wanted the wireless wind is I didn't want to be running any more cables down the mast if I could help it. I don't believe there's any difference. I've spoke to a few different people that have that wireless wind system and they're very, very happy with it, and they've said they've had no dropouts over the wireless connection. And also looking at some of the big sailing channels, they also use that system. And I was, pretty happy with how it looks to be working for them as well. Now the Triton, this here is essentially another multi-display. It's very similar to this, apart from you can't get the, can you get the chart on it? I'm not sure, I'll have to find out. But let's say it can't get the chart on it. It can display AIS, it can display your sail to steer, it can be used as an autopilot controller, so you can adjust. We've got a tiller pilot, so we can adjust using these and it'll talk to the tiller pilot. One of the things I need to add on the tiller pilot, so B&G is owned by Navico, which is Lowrance, B&G and Simrad. Simrad are who makes our tiller pilot, So in my head, I was like, okay, so it'll all talk together. And I spoke to B&G a few times on the phone to try and get as much information about how well this all worked together and am I doing the right thing. But one of the grey areas is the Simrad Tiller pilots don't talk to any of the B&G. Now, it's not that they don't, it's a grey area. They can, they might, but they don't say it so, if that makes sense. So when I spoke to them on the phone, they said, yep, you should get all the features, but technically we can't say that, just in case an update comes and it's not going to be able to do it. Now, for our boat, we can't really have any other auto helm, autopilot system than a tiller pilot, because our rudder's hung off the back. Now, we probably could, that's a bit of a lie, but it would take quite a lot of work to get to that point. And like I say, this already was half the price of our boat. I don't want to be throwing more money into it than really what it's worth, so long as the boat can get us where we want to go. But even still, we can still use these as tiller controls, which is pretty cool. So this essentially will give you all your information. So there's so many different screens. I'm try and put some up so you guys can see them as well. And it just gives you the information that you need. So your instrument information, sail steer information, autopilot if you want to use it with your autopilot. And I was just, as part of the package, I was happy to have that. And I'm going to have this above the chart plotter so we can have two different information screens. So I might just have this as the sail steer and then this with the chart plotting and information down the side. Something along those lines. The reason we wanted the trijuicer, well, actually, let's talk about the trijuicer. So I'm going to have to put another through hole in the boat to add this trijuicer. We haven't got one that's in front of the keel, so I'm going to have to add one in, because where it is currently, the depth sounder needs to be vertical, and the only through hole we have in our boat for a transducer or a trijuicer, it's at the wrong angle. So we're going to leave that one in because I don't want to be blocking up holes when the boat comes out. So we're going to leave that one in. Going to put a new hole in the boat, which I'm not a big fan of, and we'll have to fair it up, but I'll be making a video about installing all this stuff as well. So yeah, that's the trijuicer, and as I say, the wireless wind, the trijuicer, that's all what gives the information for the chart plotter and the Triton to essentially run sail steering, give you all the information. So when adding charts, like, we went for Navionics. The reason we went for Navionics is we've used it and I'm comfortable with it, and this one is the 46XG Central and West Europe. So this will be the south of the UK, and it will take us into the Mediterranean, the south of Spain, I think, that area. So all down the coastline, the Atlantic coastline. And yeah, I like Navionics. It does what I need it to do. I've used it on the tablet, I use it on my phone. I feel comfortable with it, so I wanted to stick with it. So one of the last things in our package that I want to talk about is radar. And why did we get radar? We didn't have to get radar, but I felt like, so basically this one here, this is the 3G broadband B&G Radar. This is now discontinued. This was one of the last radar units of this type that the store had, and there weren't many other ones in any other stores. And that was pretty much the only reason I went for radar, because I couldn't afford the Halo or the Halo Plus or any of the other radar kits. They're really expensive. And talking of price, we'll come to that in a bit and we'll break it all down. But some of the reasons why I wanted radar was, we went night sailing a couple of weeks ago just to get some experience, see what it's like, just see how it feels. And we just literally, we went out into the Solent, sailed around. The Solent's quite busy as well. There's a lot of ships, there's a lot of buoys, there's a lot of things in the water that you need to watch out for. And at night, the senses are alive, trying to dodge and weave and make your way through. And the current was quite strong as well, which was fun and also interesting when you're trying to make headway. But one of the main reasons, as we were sailing back and was coming into the channel by our marina at the minute, and there was two lobster pots with buoys, bottles attached to them, and they were 3-4 foot off the boat as we went past, and there was no way we could see them. That just wasn't going to happen. So like, I had Jade at the front of the boat, like saying if she saw anything, but it's still risky, especially like if we was in a bigger sea and Jade was at the front of the boat. That's not ideal. So that was kind of one of the moments where I said to myself, a radar would be very, very useful. Do you need it? probably not. People sail without radar. So we already have AIS on the boat, so we can send and receive AIS information. So we can see big ships and things like that, but it's the boats that don't have AIS that are more of a worry. But also the reason why I like radar, you can look at weather using radar, and also they pick up these little buoys and lobster pots and things. And also if you're ever caught out in fog, AIS will help you so much, but not everyone has AIS, so a radar again, massive plus. Being in the UK, you get foggy mornings. So that was the main reasons why we went for radar. We managed to find it on the right deal. It was an older model and it worked within the package that we wanted, and it's the safety that we wanted, especially because the route we're planning on taking next year, it's a big route, and you know, radar is going to be very, very helpful. Okay, so now we're getting towards the end of this video. Let's have a look and see how much all of these items cost. Show me the money!
Derek, you better yell! Show me the money!
So, in total, it all came to £4,011.77. So yeah, I believe that's the end of this video now. I'm gonna tidy all this up and start making preparations to have it all installed. So yeah, if you want to see the installation of all of these, stay tuned and we'll have videos coming out, hopefully, that you guys will find interesting. If you don't, skip them, and hopefully we'll be sailing soon. See ya.
See ya. I'm out.
I'm out.
Show me the money!